Hi everyone, welcome to this particular video. In this video, we'll be learning another very important Python topic called exception handling. See, whenever you are working with programming, definitely you will get lots of error, right? Let's say when you write any kinds of program, or let's say whenever you are trying to create any kinds of, let's say, application. Okay, so definitely there would be like tons of error. Like it may be syntax error, it may be let's say different exception error. Okay, so that's why it's super important to know how we can handle this particular error message. Okay, otherwise what will happen, let's say your application is throwing any error in front of the user, so definitely user will get afraid by seeing your error, like what is going on in this particular application. And after that, actually they won't be using your application because this particular application is throwing like different error in front of the user. So it is always necessary to handle this particular error. That means you have to show the proper actually exception, like what is going on inside your code, right? Because whatever error actually your programming will raise, right? So this should be completely different types of error. So that's why we have to know how we can handle these particular situations. If we are getting any kinds of error from our application, how we can handle that. Okay, so that's why this particular topic is super important to know inside Python or in any other programming language. Okay, whenever let's say you are creating any kinds of application, whenever you are writing any kinds of code, definitely you should know how we can handle this particular exception. So in this particular video, I'll try to give you each and every idea about this particular exception handling in Python. So make sure you are watching this particular video till the end so that you won't be having any kinds of doubt. Okay, after that. So let's go to our code editor and try to understand this particular exception handling in Python. So guys, as you can see, there are two stages where error may happen in your program. The first thing you can see during the compilation of the code. Okay, so let's say whenever code is doing compilation, and during compilation, whatever actually error you are getting, this is called syntax error. Okay, this is called syntax error. And there is another actually error may occur. It is called execution error. That means whenever you are executing any kinds of code. Okay, so this is called actually exceptions. So no need to worry, I will give you the difference between this syntax error and exceptions. Okay, what is the syntax error and what is the exceptions? Okay, I'll give you each and every idea. So first of all, let's try to discuss this particular syntax error. Like what is syntax error exactly? So syntax error is nothing but sometimes in a program is not written according to the program grammar. Okay, let's say whenever you are writing any kinds of, let's say, Python program, and you have missed out any kinds of grammar. Let's say you may missed out the parenthesis, you may missed out the comma, colon, then indentation. So this is called actually syntax error. That means this is the grammatical mistakes, okay, of the programming you are doing. So that's why it is called actually syntax error. And this particular error actually will get from the interpreter or the compiler. So compiler will check the program, and if you are doing this kinds of syntax error, it will show you, okay, this is the syntax error you have done, and you have to solve this particular error, okay, by rectifying the program. That means you have to rectify the program, then you will be able to solve this particular syntax error. So let me show you some of the syntax error actually, like how they looks like. Okay, then I think this part will be more clear. So guys, here you can see one example I kept. So this is the example of syntax error. So here I'm just printing hello world, but you can see whenever I'm using print function, I haven't defined any kinds of parenthesis. Okay, I haven't defined any kinds of parenthesis. Okay, so this is the grammatical mistakes actually I'm doing inside a programming, because we know if I want to use print function, so I have to use this particular parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis I have to write this particular string. Okay, now see, if I execute the program, it will show you syntax error. Okay, it will show you syntax error. It is telling missing parenthesis in a in cell to print. Did you mean print? See, it is also suggesting. That means if you want to, that means it is suggesting you are using print function, and if you are using print function, so you have to use like that. See, here you are doing actually grammatical mistake of the programming. Okay, so that's why it is called syntax error, and this particular error raised by the interpreter or the compiler. Okay, compiler, and you have to solve this particular let's say error by rectifying the program. That means if I want to rectify, what I can do, I can rectify the program. Okay, that means I have to change the program, right? Currently, now see, I'll give the correct syntax. Now see, this particular program will work. I hope it is clear, right? So let me show you some other example of syntax error. So if you're leaving any symbols like clone brackets, so it will give you this particular syntax error. Then if you're doing misspelling a keyword, definitely will get error. Let's say whenever, let's say you are writing print function, or let's say whenever you are defining any kinds of function, let's say instead of def you are writing, let's say def. Okay, and you are giving the function name. Let's say function name is hello. Okay, let's say you are writing def hello, and if I just do pass operation, sorry, I have to give clone, and now if I do the pass operation, see, this is also a syntax error because because actually you are misspelling the keyword. Okay, it should be def, okay, not a dep. So these are the actual example of syntax error. Otherwise you can see also incorrect indentation is there, so indentation also matters. Okay, let's say if there is any indentation mistake, definitely will get an error, because I told you Python is all about indentation. Okay, so it always follow the indentation. That's how it makes the programming actually beautiful. So you have to always take care of the indentation as well. Then if you're using any empty if else loops, okay, class functions, again you will get a syntax error. Let's say you are defining a function, or let's say you are defining one if else condition. Okay, let's say if 1 is equal to 1. Okay, now let's say you are not writing any condition. Okay, it is completely empty. Now if I execute the program again, it will give you syntax error. Okay, I hope you got it. Now inside Python actually you will get actually different types of error. So let me show you some types of error actually you will receive, because see, these are the very common error actually will receive, okay, whenever you will be writing any program and all. So let me show you some of the error, some types of the error, and then I will discuss about the exception. Okay, what is exception is. So guys, here you can see I have listed down some of the error type. So as I already told you, you might get different error, and I showed you the example of the syntax error. Even I already showed you some of the example. Apart from that, I have also given you some example. Let's say this is the clone mistake. You are doing clone mistake. You haven't given any kinds of clone. That's why it is giving a syntax error. Expect a clone symbol. Okay. Then you can see again it's a spelling mistake. Okay. Again it's a syntax error. Then it's an indentation error, because you can see it should be inside if statement, but you are writing here. So this is called indentation error. Okay. You can see it is telling it's an indentation error. Apart from that, you will get some different types of error. So the first error actually you might get called index error. Okay, when you will get the index error, maybe I think you are already familiar with this error, right? Whenever let's say we used to discuss about the list, so there actually we already saw this particular error called index error. See, index error is thrown when is trying to access an item at an invalid index. Let's say here I am having one list, and now I'm trying to access 100 index. Okay, 100 index here, so it will give you index error. It will tell list index out of range. I hope it is clear. See, the next error, module not found error. See, here I'm trying to use one module which is not available inside Python called maths. Okay, we know math is there, but maths is not a module. Okay, that's why it's telling you module not found error. Got it? You can see module not found error, no module name maths. Then you might also get something called key error. When you will get key error, whenever you will be working with dictionary. Let's say here is my dictionary D, and I'm trying to access the key of age. Okay, it is not available. That's why it will tell you key error age. Got it? Then you might also get something called type error. Whenever you will get the type error, let's say we are doing any operation with different types of data. Let's say we are trying to do integer plus operation with string. Definitely will get a type error. It will tell you unsupported operand type S for addition operation integer and string. That means you are trying to add string and integer. It's not possible. Okay, inside Python. Then you might also get something called value error. Whenever you will get the value error, let's say sometimes you want to do, let's say, type conversion. And in some cases actually it's not possible to convert a type. So let's say here I'm trying to convert this particular character in an integer. So that's why it is giving you invalid literal for the integer with base 10a. That means a is a character, and you can't convert any kinds of character to an integer. Okay, it's not possible. So it is called value error. Then you might also get something called name error. Whenever you will get the name error, let's say you're trying to access a variable. Okay, you are trying to access a variable which is not present. So definitely it will give you name error. K is not defined. Got it? Then you might also get something called attribute error. Whenever you get the attribute error, let's say here I'm using list, and I'm trying to access one method called upper, which is not available inside list. Okay, that's why you will get attribute error. It will tell you list object has no attribute upper. Okay, so these are the very common error actually you might receive. Okay, whenever you are working with Python. Okay, and this is called actually syntax error. Fine, this is called actually syntax error because this is the grammatical mistake actually you are doing. Okay, inside programming. Now let me discuss what is exception exactly. Okay, what is exception exactly, and what is the difference between syntax error and exception. Okay, see, exception is nothing but if things go wrong during the execution of the program, that means in the runtime, it generally happens when something unforeseen has happened. Okay, something unforeseen has happened. That means, let's say you have written a program. This program is completely fine. Okay, there is no, let's say, syntactual error. There is no grammatical error. But you are getting one exception. That means I can give you one example. Let's say you have written a function that function, let's say, takes a number and it performs the divide operation. Okay, let's say this is a function you have defined. Let's say the function name is divide. Okay, divide. So it will take a number called num and it will perform the division operation. Let's say, so what it will do, let's say whatever number user is giving, it will just do the divide operation. Let's say with 12. Okay, 12 divide that particular number. Fine. And it will return the result. Let's say this is my result and it will simply, I can simply print this particular result here. Okay, let's say this is my function. Now let's say if I give any input, divide to this particular function, let's say I'll give let's say 10. Now if I execute, see, it will give me 1.2. Now let's say user is giving 0 here. Now if I execute the program, it is giving me one error. Okay, it is giving me one error. It is telling 0 division error, division by 0. That means you can't divide with 0 any kinds of number. See, now here my program is fine. Okay, here my program is fine. There is no issue with my program. The issue is happening during runtime. That means during runtime, user is passing any actually value which is not supported for the division operation. Okay, this is called actually exception. Okay, that's why I've written, if things go wrong during the execution of the program, that means in the runtime, it generally happens when something unforeseen has happened in the program. Okay, I hope it is clear now. Exception are raised by the Python runtime. You have to tackle is on the fly. That means you have to tackle this particular exception. Okay, you have to tackle this particular exception somehow. And to handle, there are some actually technique you can follow. I'll tell you how we can handle this particular exception. Okay. So that's why I've given some example. Let's say memory overflow. Let's say sometimes what happens, let's say you are loading a very big data, okay, in your system. So let's say sometimes it will, load the data and your memory will get full and you will get memory overflow issue. Okay, this is not your actually fault because you have written a good code and this particular code is working fine. Let's say it will load the data in the memory. But what will happen? Because of the big data, it will get the memory overflow. Okay, so this is called exception. Okay, this is not actually syntax error. This is exception because here you are not doing any kinds of grammatical mistake. You are not doing any kinds of syntactical mistake. Okay, it is happening during runtime, during execution of your program. Now there is another example I have given, divide by 0. Okay, that means you are dividing any number with respect to 0. You will get an error. My function is fine, but I'm giving 0 here. Because of that, I'm getting the error. So this is called exception. Now, third example, I can give you the database error. Let's say you want to connect with a database. Let's say you want to connect with a MySQL database. So you have written a good program. Let's say you have written a function. That particular function will connect to the MySQL database. And program is fine. But let's say in some cases, MySQL server will down. Okay, that time actually it will give you one error. Let's say I'm not able to connect with that particular server. There is something went wrong in that particular server. Okay, so this is called exception. This is not your fault. Okay, this is not your fault. So this is called actually unforeseen condition. Okay, there's something unforeseen has happened. Okay, in that particular situation. I hope you got it. Okay, so this is called exception. Now I think you got the difference between what is syntax error. Okay, what is syntax error and what is exceptions. So here we'll be dealing with the exceptions, not the syntax error, because we know syntax error how to solve. We have to rectify the program. Okay, because here we are doing the grammatical mistake of the program. But whenever I'm using exceptions, that means there is something going wrong. For this actually my code is not responsible. Let's say because of some unforeseen circumstances, my it is giving you an exception. Okay, that is the idea. Now let me tell you why it is important to handle the exceptions. Okay, see what happens. So whenever program gives any exceptions or error, see there's some actually component you will be able to see. The first thing you can see the exception type. Okay, you can see the exception type, the error type. So here you can see it's a 0 division error, and here you will get the error message. Okay, the message is like you can see division by 0. That means you are trying to divide this particular number with 0. And apart from that, you will also see in which line it is giving me the error. Okay, what was the line? That is the main thing here. Just try to see. So this is the line. You can see line number 2. Line number 2, r is equal to 12 divided by n. Okay, so this is the code. See what happens if we are getting this kinds of error messages. Okay, from my program. Sometimes actually it breaks the security, because what happens, let's say you are creating a software, you are creating very, let's say, private software, and if your program is giving this kinds of error, so there would be lots of hacker actually, they will be able to see your code, like what is the logic actually you have written inside the code. So what they will do, they will just do some brainstorming on top of your program, and they can hack your application. Like they can see, right, they can see your code, like what you have written, which function you have written, in which line it is throwing the error. So they will get the weak point of your application. So again, it will break the security, security of your application. And the second thing, whenever user is getting this kinds of error, let's say you are a user and you don't know programming, if you're getting this kinds of error, so definitely it will get like afraid, right? Like what is happening with my application? Let's say you are creating a bank application, and let's say you are trying to, let's say, withdraw money. Okay, withdraw, let's say 10,000 rupees. And if you're getting this kinds of error, so definitely you will get surprised and you will get afraid, like what is going on with my, let's say, account. Okay, and second time you won't be using this particular application. So that is why handling exception is super important, because I don't want to show these kinds of masses, okay, from my application. My application will give me exception, it's completely fine, but I don't want to show these kinds of private exception of my application. Okay, this is not actually recommended whenever you are creating any kinds of software. Okay, so that's why we can handle this particular exception with the help of try except block. Okay, inside Python we are having something called try except keyword. Okay, with the help of that we can handle this particular exception. So let me show you one example how we can solve it. So let's say here I'm just trying to create a file. You can see I'm just trying to create a sample.txt file inside my, let's say, files folder. I think you know, inside files folder I have my files. Okay, now inside that, let's say I want to create this particular sample.txt, and inside that I'm just writing hello world. Okay, now let me execute the program. See, if I now open the sample.txt, it is fine. Okay, hello world is there. Now let's say I want to read this particular file again. So what I will do, I'll just copy this particular code. Okay, and now instead of writing mode, I'll just write as a read mode. And now I'm going to, let's say, read this particular file. So I'm just going to write f.read. Okay, and I'm going to print this particular read operation. Now see, if I execute the program, it is working fine. But let's say by mistake user has given sample 4. That means he's trying to read sample 4 file and it is not present. Okay, it is not present inside my directory. You can see it's not present inside my directory. Now see, if I execute the program, it will give you one error, file not found error. No such file or directory, file/sample4.txt, and it is telling in which line you are getting the error. Okay, so again, see, code is visible here. So again, it's a security issue, and as a user I will get surprised, I will get afraid, okay, by seeing these kinds of error messages. See, now as a programmer you have to decide why you have to apply this particular exception handling technique. See, just try to remember whenever you are handling any kinds of external, let's say a file, or let's say external, let's say code, or external any kinds of things. Okay, let's say here I'm trying to open this particular sample4.txt, right? So this is external things I'm trying to handle in my code, because my code is fine. Okay, here my code is logic is fine. How to read a file, this particular code is fine. Only the things is like this particular file name can be anything. This file name can be anything. So as a programmer, you have to think, okay, so here actually I might get the issue because user can give any kinds of, let's say, a file name here. And if this file is not available, my code will give me error. Definitely. Okay, so now what I will do, I'll just use this particular try except block here. So I'll just write try, and inside try I'm going to write this particular code. See, this is the indentation you have to give. So inside try you have to write this particular code. Okay, then after try I have to give another block called exception. Okay, except, and inside that I have to write my error message. Let's say I'll just give file not found. Okay, now see what is happening. First of all, your code will try to open this particular file. It will check whether this particular sample4.txt is present or not. You can see it's not present. That means what will happen? It will go to the except block. Okay, except block, and it will print this particular message, file not found. See, if I execute the program, now instead of getting that particular error message, that particular, let's say, very dangerous error message, you are getting this simple error message, file not found. And now my code is also hidden. That means I can overcome this particular security issue. Even as a user, I can get to know, okay, so this is the error message I'm getting. That means file not found. That means I have to give the correct file name. Now if I give, let's say, sample.txt, now if I execute the program, see, it is giving me hello world. Okay, I hope it is clear. So that's actually with the help of try except block, we can handle this particular exception. Okay, we can handle this particular exception. And as a programmer, whenever you are designing the software, you have to think, why I can mention this particular try except block. Okay, I told you one hack. Whenever you are handling any kinds of external, let's say, logic, at that time you can use this particular try except block. Okay, let's say you are connecting with database. In database, sometimes database might be down. So during connection, try to make that particular connection inside try except block. So if somehow it is not able to connect with your database, it will give you the exception. Okay, like it is not able to connect with the database. Okay, instead of throwing that particular dangerous error. Okay, I hope it is clear. So yes, this is the basics of exception handling technique inside Python. So in our next video, we'll be discussing some more advanced technique we can use to handle the exception. We'll be learning how we can handle different exception. Okay, as I already told you, there are different error messages actually will get from your code. How we can handle different error messages. Okay, with the help of different logic. So yes, with that, thank you so much for watching this particular video, and I will see you next time.